Hello, everyone. I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
And I'm your host, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
You're not the host. The Solomonster is.
Never heard of him.
Give me a break. You're listening to The Solomonster Sounds Off.
Actually, I do know that guy. I think he owes me money.
Oh, will you stop?
Raw was in Cleveland tonight, Cleveland, Ohio, at the Rocket Mortgage Arena. But you got to go back about a decade. Back in 2014, it was the Quicken Loans Arena. And it was in the Quicken Loans Arena that CM Punk, it was the night after the Royal Rumble, sat in an office backstage with Vince McMahon and Triple H, and he aired his grievances. When he was done, he got up and he walked out of the building. He walked out of the company. We would not see him again on WWE television for nearly a decade. Coincidentally, the Rocket Mortgage Arena, back when it was the Quicken Loans Arena, was also the building where CM Punk suffered his very first loss in his very first fight in UFC, and he got mauled in 2 minutes by Mickey Gall. Tonight, he was back as a free agent. Which brand would he sign with? Would he sign with Monday Night Raw? Would he sign with Smackdown? Would he sign... I can't even say it with a straight face. Would he sign with NXT? Come on now. But that was the question coming into tonight's show. That was the big draw. And in fact, I think to the surprise of very few people, CM Punk did in fact sign with Monday Night Raw, which he was always going to do. All you got to do is use your head. Put your thinking cap on here. Randy Orton signed with SmackDown already. They're not going to send all the big names over to SmackDown. They don't care about Fox anymore. They're leaving Fox. They give the big F you to Fox. Remember when they first went to Fox, the story was they want Brock Lesnar and they want Ronda Rousey on the show, and WWE, of course, is like, oh yes, our Fox overlords. I don't care about Fox. You send Randy Orton to SmackDown, CM Punk is going to come to Raw. Now, if they wanted to, what they could have done, if they wanted to swerve people, and if they wanted to throw us off the scent a little bit, they could have had CM Punk say, you know what? Nick Aldis made a much better offer to me, and I've got issues with the bloodline. I've got a bone to pick. I want to, mix it up with Roman Reigns and all those guys. I'm going to go to SmackDown and let him be on SmackDown for a month and a half. And then if Punk wins the Royal Rumble, ultimately he picks Seth Rollins and he comes to Raw anyway. But there would be no point in doing that other than just swerving people for the sake of swerving people, bro. And we don't do that. If you're going to swerve somebody, at least make it make sense. So CM Punk is on Monday Night Raw, but not only is CM Punk on Raw, we got something else tonight, which is what I was hoping that we would get, which was the first face-to-face in the ring between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Same Seth Rollins who has been doing interviews talking about all the reasons why he does not like CM Punk, Punk has been talking crap about WWE ever since he left. Punk has been talking crap about him. He said at one point Punk called him a bootlicker. All the reasons why he really genuinely does not like this man. And of course, we saw what happened at Survivor Series when the camera stopped rolling and he was flipping him off and he had to be held back by Michael Cole. So CM Punk is standing in the middle of the ring and Seth Rollins unloads on him. This was Seth Rollins, his opportunity to go out there and to speak his mind and let CM Punk know exactly what he thought about him. And if it sounded a little familiar, if there were some parts of this promo that sounded familiar to you, there's a reason for that, because there were definitely similarities between what Hangman Adam Page said in the now infamous Workers' Rights promo on Dynamite in May of last year before he wrestled Punk at Double or Nothing. If you remember the match that Punk, supposedly, he felt he didn't know if Hangman might shoot on him, noted shooter Adam Page, and so he was having to watch himself during that match. He didn't know if Hangman was going to take liberties with him there in the ring that night. But the infamous Workers' Rights promo where Hangman Page, out of nowhere, started talking about how I'm not defending the AEW World Championship against you at Double or Nothing. No, I'm defending AEW from you. As if Punk was some kind of mole, like he was a secret agent who was sent to AEW to kill the company from within. And I can remember even being here on this channel, reviewing that episode of Dynamite when the show was over and thinking, boy, that was a bizarre promo segment, for what I think may have been the go-home segment, or big go-home promo to their match at Double or Nothing. I even back then thought, boy, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. What the hell's he talking about? He was so angry. Why are you so angry? Why are you mad? Didn't make a whole lot of sense. And here in this promo, Seth Rollins echoed those sentiments in talking about how this is my home. And I look at it as my job to protect my home from you, to make sure that you don't come in here and destroy my home from within. And you're going to see a lot of people talking about the fact that, they copied AEW. There's a lot of similarities there. You know what the big difference is between that promo and this promo? The key difference is that here, it actually makes sense. Here, it actually does make sense. You know what Seth Rollins is talking about because Punk, now coming out of that run in AEW, that has a track record that isn't exactly great for certain things that went down. And even if you ignore the AEW stuff, Rollins out there talking about the way that Punk left the company and all the things that he's been saying about WWE over the last 10 years, it makes sense that Seth Rollins would say, you know what? I'm the champion. I represent this place. I've been here. You haven't. I look at it as my responsibility to defend this place against people like you. That's a promo that resonates because it makes sense. And you're not left thinking, boy, what the hell is Seth Rollins talking about? That's the key differential between that promo and this promo. And that's why this promo was a hell of a lot better than that one. And a hell of a lot more effective and is going to make more money than that promo did. I thought the face-to-face between them tonight was excellent. It was exactly what it needed to be. As we are now heading towards the Royal Rumble, and we are now heading towards WrestleMania and your likely night one main event of WrestleMania. Although some people think it should be the night two main event, I'll put those people in their place. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of it. But we also know now when Drew McIntyre was going to get his shot at the World Heavyweight Championship, which we knew he was going to. It was just a matter of, are they going to wait until the Royal Rumble? They are not. They are not waiting until the Royal Rumble. We now have a date. We know when he will be getting his title match. And Cody Rhodes wrestled Shinsuke Nakamura. Unfortunately, we had a cheap disqualification ending to our main event here on this show. Almost 20 minutes we sat through this main event, only to have Shinsuke spitting red mist once again in the face of poor Cody Rhodes. But by the time they put these two guys back in the ring together, they're going to have to make it a blindfold match because poor Cody, he's not going to be able to see. He's going to show up on Raw next week. He's going to have the eyeglasses on. He's going to have that cane. He's going to be bumping into things. But I didn't actually expect that they were going to pin Cody on television here before we get to the Royal Rumble. They've been protecting Cody. They weren't going to have him out there tonight taking a loss to Nakamura. Now, if he beat Nakamura clean, well, what do you do now? You got a lot of time to kill between now and the Royal Rumble. That's the whole purpose of this. It's to give Cody another obstacle to overcome, and it's to give him something to do until we get to the end of January, because it's only December 11th. We got another 6 weeks. So this was the first of what will be at least 2 matches between Cody and Nakamura, but that's how they went off the air tonight. We'll say on a positive note, a lot of times we get to this time of year. We get to the holiday season, and we have seen in years past WWE phone in these shows. There are times we get to the end of the year, there's no pay-per-view anymore in December. They used to have a TLC pay-per-view. No more. That's gone. So we have all of these weeks. We have another 6-7 weeks until we get to the Royal Rumble. It would be very easy for them to do what they've done before around the holiday season and just phone it in. They did not phone this show in tonight. This did not feel phoned in. We had a good opening match. We had a good closing match. We had that great segment in the middle with Punk and Rollins. And there were some other good things on the show as well. A lot of short matches, but there were some good things in the middle. They did a good job, I thought, than they sometimes do of pacing the show. And I thought it made for a strong episode. And we're going to go through the entire thing here. This is your Monday Night Raw review for December 11th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Hit that like button. If we get at least 400 of you to do so, we will do our Be the Booker segment later on. Also, hit that subscribe button if you have not already done so, or if you are new to the channel. I welcome you. Super chats are open as well, and there's a whole bunch of new ones as well. You can find those down in the description below. Hey, James, is that James Band? I almost said James Bond. I'm going to call you James Bond because that's cooler. James Bond just subscribed. So thank you, 007. And you saw the slide earlier. 'Tis the holiday season. If you want to gift channel memberships to people, you certainly are able to do so. Lady Fire Panda did so before. I think she gifted 5 or 10. So Fire Panda, thank you as always. Raw open tonight with Jey Uso. And guess what? Jey Uso has gotten his yeet back. Yes, indeed. That did not last very long. He did not have it taken away from him for too long. And he got his yeet shirt back, too, because he was wearing it in the ring tonight. See, the WWE legal team, man, they work quickly. They don't waste any time. They were not able to use yeet because they discovered there was a trademark issue last week. We saw a video package on the show where the yeet t-shirt was blurred out. Like it was the fucking Attitude Era scratch logo. But the WWE legal team has gotten everything fixed. Jey even noted that during his promo here, he said he had his yeet back. He said, I'm excited about that one. How many people do you think in the crowd even knew what he was talking about? I'm sure some did, but I wonder how many people in the crowd, because it was such a minor story that only people that, were going to websites and, kind of scrolling through their Twitter timelines would even know that happened last week. It was 1 week. How many people even knew what he was talking about there? But he looked very happy to have his yeet back. Now, he said he's happy to have CM Punk back as well. He wished Sami Zayn well in his recovery from his storyline partially torn meniscus, is what they are calling it, in his knee at the hands of Drew McIntyre last week. For those who don't know, Sami Zayn requested time off. I don't know how long. I would imagine he'll be back in time for the Royal Rumble, but he requested some time off. They granted it to him, which is why they shot the angle last week to take him off TV. He's fine. And when he is good and ready, he will be back. So he was about to address Drew McIntyre's attack on him last week when McIntyre interrupted. And Drew walked out. He said, enough of the ass kissing. Said Nick Aldis can have CM Punk on SmackDown. He doesn't want Punk on Raw because he will destroy the locker room from the inside out. Uh-oh, he's channeling his inner Hangman here. He will destroy the locker room from the inside out. He said he's one of the only people who actually traveled the world with Punk back in the day, and said that Punk, he knows what Punk is really like. He knows the real CM Punk. and he knows how this story ends. Then he looked into the camera and he addressed Sami Zayn, and he acknowledged that, he might have something to do with him being at home. He said Sami took it too far by talking about his family, and then he said he was sorry. And then he turned to Jey Uso and he said, see? That's how you apologize, which is something Jey Uso never did to him. He never apologized for all the shit that the Bloodline did to him and costing him the championship in Cardiff last year. So that's how an apology works. So McIntyre climbed up on the apron. He was telling the fans to imagine that someone hurt one of their family members and never bothered to say they were sorry. He told the fans to be honest in answering whether or not they would want revenge. McIntyre then addressed a fan in the front row named Austin. I didn't catch how he knew this person's name, but he said he called him Austin. He said Austin's family doesn't care about him because he's a coward. Okay, then. Jey told the fans to give him a yeet if they wanted to see him beat McIntyre's ass, and then he cleared Drew from the ring. This was before the opening bell. That took us into the first commercial break. They came back. The match was joined already in progress. McIntyre went for a Claymore kick at ringside. Jey moved, and that caused McIntyre to land on top of the announce desk. Jey got back into the ring, and then he went right back out with a suicide dive and back to commercial. Yes, that's pretty much all that happened, and we went right into another commercial, just like that. So when they came back, they showed what happened during the break, and Drew had him outside the ring. And what he did was he slingshotted him up, throat first, into the steel beam underneath the ring. There was also a random fan in the crowd with a Von Wagner rules sign. So it's very nice of Von to invite his mother to the show. Jey fought back. He hit a Samoan drop for 2. McIntyre dodged a running hip attack and hit a neck breaker. And then he went for the Claymore. Jey caught him with 2 super kicks. He went for an Uso splash. McIntyre, though, on the way down, got his knees up. And then he picked him up. He hit a Future Shock DDT, only for a near fall. And that was a great one because if you remember, the last time these two worked together, it was the man advantage match for the War Games match. They went one-on-one, and Drew beat him with that move. He beat him with the Future Shock DDT. So they had some people, at least in the crowd, convinced that that could have been the finish. And shout out to Brock's Ripped Shorts for subscribing to the channel. I forgot about that. I did forget that Brock ripped his shorts at SummerSlam. Now that you've reminded me of that, I'm laughing all over again. So McIntyre removed one of the top turnbuckle pads. Referee was busy checking on Jey. McIntyre set up for another Claymore. Jey, though, speared him and covered him for a near fall. Referee tended to the turnbuckle pad because that was so important. McIntyre, meanwhile, was gouging at Jey Uso's eye. And then he finally connected on the Claymore kick. He scored the pin. Michael Cole was going off on Drew McIntyre here. And he called it disgraceful, what he did. Said this is not the Drew McIntyre that he knows. Wade Barrett said that people like Jey are the ones who sent McIntyre over the edge and caused him to be the way that he is. And, basically the story is that Drew McIntyre, here's this man of integrity who is just sent over the edge by people like Jey Uso, right? He's a just man in an unjust world who kept getting screwed over and was screwed out of the biggest opportunity of his career for the second time. I guess if you want to count what happened back in 2020, he kind of got screwed. But he got screwed out of the championship. Nobody ever said they were sorry to him. It hurt his feelings. He's all up in his feelings now. And now he's taking it out on everybody else, right? So nobody seemed to care. And so now he doesn't care. That's the story here. And this makes him a heel. And the reason it makes him a heel is because of the way he's going about handling his business, right? What he did to Sami Zayn last week. Now he's cheating to win his matches. I mean, look, you do what you got to do. But in the WWE world, when you beat up on the baby faces that people like, that makes you a heel, even though you can understand his reasoning for doing so. This is a good opener. It's a good match. I thought they structured the show well by opening with this. They close with the Cody match, And they put the Punk segment on at 9 o'clock, which is funny because before Raw even went on the air, somebody had tweeted me if they wanted to know if I thought that they should end the show with Punk. And I said no. I said I think that they should put the Punk segment at the top of the 9 o'clock hour or the top of the 10 o'clock hour. And that way, if it goes long, you don't have to worry about his time getting cut, which is what happened the first night on Raw. And that's what they did. They put Punk on at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, and that was a smart way to go about doing it. So they recap Punk's appearance, all of his appearances last week, NXT, and the big promo that he cut on SmackDown on Friday night where he addressed everybody. Roman Reigns, and he name-dropped Cody and Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins without actually saying his name. And so they were hyping his segment coming up later on in the show. Who would he sign with? Then we got another narrated Shinsuke Nakamura video package, which midway through transformed into an anime. And I have to show this because I thought this was fucking awesome. I mean, look at these images. How cool is that? They turned Nakamura into an anime villain. He said he's been watching Cody Rhodes talk about finishing his story for weeks, but he is no closer to doing it. He was a dog chasing a car. As great as Rhodes was, it was not enough. That Cody's lack of respect for him would be his weakness. Cody strived for the admiration of others, but Nakamura freed himself of that burden long ago, and now he will paint his own story and bring Cody's story to an end. And he said, always remember, you asked for this. These segments are really well done, all of them. This one in particular with the anime stuff. But the Nakamura segments with the dramatic music and the subtitles and him sort of in the shadows, I really enjoy these segments. I think they're all really well done. Meanwhile, in the Judgment Day Clubhouse, we go. At their clubhouse every week. Finn Balor was upset that he and Rhea Ripley, they're gone 1 week. And he says the wheels are falling off here. R-Truth is breaking into our clubhouse every week. We had Dominic and JD McDonough last week losing to the Creeds. Rhea Ripley then brought up the fact, and she said, I know it's a sensitive subject, but she brought up the fact that Dominic lost his North American Championship, which he did at the NXT Deadline show on Saturday to Dragon Lee. Damian Priest said Dom losing his title sucks, but people missing Raw also sucks. He was taking a shot there at Balor and Rhea. Priest said that he and Balor would handle the Creeds, since they are the #1 contenders for the tag team titles. Ripley heard Priest calling himself a leader, but said that was easier than actually being a leader. And Priest was ready to go off on her, but Rhea got in his face and said she was tired of the disrespect. She planned on making an example tonight out of Maxine Dupri. Elsewhere, the Creeds and Ivy Nile, they were shown with the Alpha Academy. Ivy said that she would be with Maxine tonight for her match, just in case. R-Truth showed up with some Christmas lights, and he said that they were for the Judgment Day's clubhouse. Chad Gable told him that the Judgment Day is dangerous, and he doesn't really think Truth is part of the group. Truth said that he is in the group, and the Judgment Day is just misunderstood. And Truth wished them all a happy Thanksgiving, and with that, he made his exit. We had Rhea Ripley against Maxine Dupri. This was a non-title match, and boy, oh my goodness. Maxine was in way over her head here in this match. Now, she has made progress. What little ring time she's had on TV, yeah, they teach her how to do these impressive spots, and people pop for it, right? But now she's got to be in an actual match, and this did not go very well. It wasn't very long, but it did not go very well. Ripley went to powerbomb her. Maxine didn't go up for it right at first. And so Rhea muscled her up. And Maxine, I guess the spot was Maxine was going to counter into a head scissors or a Hurricane Rana. It was an awful Hurricane Rana. And the idea was that Rhea was going to go headfirst into the turnbuckles, but she came up short. So she didn't actually connect with the turnbuckles. Rhea came back with a boot to the chest and followed that up with an ugly riptide. And believe me, ugly is not a word I would associate with either of these women, but my goodness, this was an ugly riptide. Again, Maxine just didn't go up for it the right way, and Rhea muscled her up as best she could. Thankfully, they didn't end the match with that. Rhea just stared at her, and she started yelling at her and said, "You think this is funny?" And then she applied the prism lock, and she got the submission win. But she didn't release the hold right away until Ivy Nile entered the ring. Ripley and Ivy had a stare down, and she taunted Ivy as she exited the ring. They kept it short, which was for the better, but this was not a good night for Maxine Dupri. This was awful. It was only 2 minutes, but it was an awful 2 minutes. But now we know who may be next in line for Rhea Ripley. As far as the women's championship is concerned, with that little Ivy Nile tease there. Ivy has not done anything yet to warrant getting a women's title shot. But they have time between now and the Royal Rumble. If the idea is that we're going to get Ripley and Ivy at the Rumble. I mean, to me, you could do that match on TV. But if they're going to save that for the Royal Rumble, they have 6 weeks. You can have Ivy Nile rack up some wins. You can have a #1 contenders match or a battle royal, or maybe we just had a battle royal not that long ago. But whatever they want to do, there's still time to get Ivy to a point where she actually earns the right to challenge for the title. And then you do Rhea and Ivy at the Rumble. I would rather see that anyway than, Rhea and Nia. Or, who else does Rhea even work with, right? We've been through this before. This is the problem right now with the Raw Women's division. If they're saving Becky and Rhea for WrestleMania, there's nobody else. So if they want to build up Ivy Nile for the Rumble, that's fine. They have 6 weeks to do it. But they don't have a lot of options. They really don't. Becky would have to be one of the top 2 favorites right now, probably Becky or Bayley, to win the Women's Royal Rumble match. Adam Pearce was in the ring for what was the segment of the night, in the ring to introduce CM Punk for the decision. They were in Cleveland. This was not LeBron, but this was a big decision that CM Punk had to make here as far as which brand he was going to sign with. Would it be Raw? Would it be SmackDown? Would it be... oh, boy. Would it be NXT? I can't even say it with a straight face. I tried. I can't do it. So Punk gets in the ring, and he said he thought that he was in a sullen mood. Apparently, Punk thought he walked into an episode of Collision. I don't know. He said he thought he was in a sullen mood, but then he came out here and he saw all the signs, all the CM Punk signs, and he heard all the CM Punk chants from the crowd. But he has a huge decision to make. He's been thinking about it all week long, and the reason he has been so worried about this decision is because he loves all of us. But the truth is, this town and this building has not been very kind to him in the past. This building has historically not been a positive for CM Punk. He says you walk back there through the hallways, there's a lot of ghosts, and he is trying to face them head on. He said, "Did you know that I debuted in this building?" He said, "Yeah, I debuted in this building, and I had Mickie James on my arm, Mrs. Nick Aldis. He had Mickie James on his arm. They walked back. Back in the day, apparently CM Punk had a lot of different women on his arm in this company, but that's another story for another day. They walked down the ramp that night, got into the ring, and he was so good when he got to the back, they told him, 'We're sending you to Louisville, Kentucky. Have fun in OVW.' And he didn't want to go, but he learned to embrace being uncomfortable, and he learned to love it. So then he triumphantly returned to this town as World Heavyweight Champion. And then Randy Orton kicked him in the head backstage, and when he woke up, they told him, 'We stripped you of the title. You can't compete. You are no longer the champion.'" Of course, that's a reference to, what was the pay-per-view? I know it was the Scramble match, right? He was supposed to be in the match, and they took him out backstage. I don't remember the name of the actual pay-per-view, but I do remember that. And I still think that was a weird way to get the title off of somebody, but that's what they did. And then he said, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, he had to take himself off the hamster wheel and make the hardest decision of his life. He doesn't regret it, but he always wondered, for the people who were there that night, if they felt betrayed. He said there was a girl, in fact, backstage named Indy, who told him that she felt betrayed. So if anyone was disappointed that CM Punk walked out, he says he understands and he apologizes. He didn't mention that he got his ass kicked in the octagon in this building by Mickey Gall, but again, maybe it slipped his mind or might still be a sore spot for him. Yes, thank you. It was Unforgiven. It was Unforgiven 2008 when CM Punk got punted in the head, and that was the end of his World Heavyweight Championship run. He said he went to Smackdown on Friday, and he heard what Nick Aldis had to say. He put together a substantial offer. He went to NXT, and he hung out with Shawn Michaels, who gave him an offer to help mold the next generation of talent, next generation of superstars. Adam Pearce, though, put together a deal that is head and shoulders above the other two. But he's going to be very real with us right now. His mind was probably already made up when he looked at the calendar and he saw Cleveland, Ohio. He said he's here to bury those ghosts and right a few wrongs. His future starts now, 10 years, almost to the day CM Punk walked out. And regardless of how you feel about it, CM Punk walks right back in. And if you're happy about it, if you're mad about it, if you are indifferent to it, hey, Kurt, cry some more. He says, you better learn to love it because congratulations, Adam Pearce. The newest Raw superstar is named CM Punk, and CM Punk is home. So Punk signed the contract, and he hit the corner ropes to celebrate when all of a sudden they played Seth Rollins' theme music, and the World Heavyweight Champion walked to the ring. His attire of choice tonight was a sparkly purple jacket. He looked like, what's that character, the McDonald's character, the purple guy? I was going to say Barney the dinosaur. What was the purple guy from McDonald's? All right, we had Ronald McDonald, we had the Hamburglar, and then we had the purple fucker, whatever his name was. He looked like the purple fucker coming down to the ring here. Grimace, there it is, I know. It just came to me. Grimace. All right. We got our first face-to-face between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. This is a little preview of WrestleMania. This went on for a good minute where they just stared each other down. Nobody said anything. The crowd was, coming up for it. They were interested. They were excited by this. So after they stared at each other for about 60 seconds, Rollins asked for a microphone. He said, Cleveland, Ohio, CM Punk, welcome to Monday Night Rollins. I hope you know how incredibly fortunate you are to be standing in this ring right now. But could you just do me one little favor? Just one thing, please. That's all I ask of you. Don't you dare call this place your home. And the fans began to chant CM Punk. Because you abandoned this place 10 years ago. Not only did you abandon it, but you actively tried to tear it down. You spent 10 years slandering me, slandering every single person in that locker room. And then you want to walk back in here and call this place your home? He said, this is not your home. He said, this is my home. At least for another 7 months until his contract expires. He says, I've been here. Everybody in the back, those are my brothers and sisters. Everybody here and watching at home, that is my family. This is our home. And I will do everything in my power to protect it from people like you. He says, let me make one thing perfectly clear. I want everybody to understand. He doesn't want there to be any sort of confusion. There's no ambiguity about what he is about to say. He says, I hate you. It doesn't get any clearer than that. I hate you. But if you're going to be part of WWE again, then I want you on Monday Night Raw. Because the truth is, it always comes out. The truth always comes out. I know, you know, everybody else knows this is your last chance. And so one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to expose yourself, you're going to self-destruct like you always do, and I'm going to be the first person in the back to slam the door shut on your legacy. Or if by some miracle you actually have changed and you've got any gas left in the old tank, maybe one day you'll be lucky enough to stand across the ring for me in a World Heavyweight Championship match. And then I will expose you for the fraud that you are. I will show you that there are levels to this. I will wrestle circles around you and let you understand in real time what it means to be the best in the world. And again, fans were not chanting for Seth. They were not humming his song. They started chanting CM Punk. CM Punk. And then it was Punk's chance to respond. He was kind enough to stand there and let Rollins say his piece. Punk takes the mic. He says, "Are you done? That's your one pass to speak to me disrespectfully without me coming after you. I have never asked for anything to be handed to me." He said, "Adam Pearce, where are you at? Get back in here." He goes, "We're making things official. CM Punk is entering the Royal Rumble. And when CM Punk wins, maybe Seth, it's you that he's coming after." This was perfect. This was perfect. This was exactly what it needed to be. Punk signs with Raw, which again makes perfect sense because Randy Orton went to SmackDown. You get CM Punk on Monday Night Raw. We got serious Seth Rollins in this segment, and honestly, that's when Seth is at his best. Seth goes out there, he cackles like a hyena, and he has fun, and he dresses up in these gaudy costumes, and he talks about how I'm a revolutionary, and I'm a, whatever, all these other nicknames he has for himself. He acts like a clown. He dresses like a clown, he acts like one, he talks like one, but then he gets serious. And we get to see the real Seth Rollins shine through. We have, at times on this show, we did when he was feuding with Drew McIntyre a few times. You remember the Matt Riddle feud? Things got really heated between the two of them. And Riddle too. Riddle also, right? He got serious, and it was nice to see a different side of him that we didn't normally get to see. So this was serious Seth Rollins, who was out there to make it very clear the way that he felt about this man. He was the intensity here was great, was off the charts. And he made it very clear in no uncertain terms that he hates CM Punk. He hates CM Punk. He knows, and the world knows, according to him, that CM Punk is going to implode like he always does. And he does not like the way that Punk has talked crap about this company in the years that he has been gone. Or, the crap that he's talked about him. And look, CM Punk, let's just be perfectly honest here, okay? A lot of the things that CM Punk said about WWE when he left WWE on the podcast with Colt Cabana and other comments that he's made about the company were absolutely right. And all the shit that he went through there at the end of his run, the end of 2013 into the beginning of 2014, and the staph infection, and all the times that Vince McMahon, would say, "I'll owe you one, pal. I'll owe you one, pal." Right? He had every right to feel the way he felt about WWE and to want to get the hell out of there and to get healthy again. And then they fire him on his wedding day. That was a clerical error. Hey, at least Vince apologized for that. Now, do you believe that he was fired by accident on his wedding day? Because I don't. So he had the right to feel the way that he felt and talk all the crap that he talked about WWE. Now, I don't know what he's talking about when Seth Rollins does these interviews and says that Punk called him a bootlicker and all that. I don't know if that's just manufactured. I don't know what interview that would have been from. But just for the record here, Punk had the right, I think, to be upset about a lot of what happened there at the end of his run. But the thing about the Rollins promo that rings true, and I think one of the things about this promo that really works so well, is that he comes out there and he calls Punk a fraud. And you can believe that. I hear that and I think the same thing. He sounds like a fraud. Because he comes out there and he says, like he did on the first night on Raw, his first night back, "I'm home. Oh, I know it might sound cheesy, but I'm home. And you remember all the comments he made about WWE over all these years, even when he joined AEW. How many shots did he take at WWE during his promos? And WrestleMania being a buy one, get one, 2-night extravaganza, and a bunch of the other shots. I left sports entertainment. I'm a pro wrestler again. And, again, he's taken all these shots and now he's back and it's like, I'm home. So when Seth calls him a fraud and all of these things, or a hypocrite, you can believe it because it's true. Because it's true. And that's what makes the promo so, I think, so effective and makes it work so well. There's a lot of truth in there. There are a lot of people who feel that way. I think rightfully. That Punk, after all the crappy talk, would walk in and say, oh, I'm home. I'm home. So I think that makes it, his argument, a lot more effective. Now, the Hangman Page workers' rights promo, because there's going to be a lot of people making comparisons between the two companies and between the two promos and what they said and everything else. What Hangman was talking about in his promo was off camera. He talked about when the little red light goes off. That's CM Punk. And he got very angry in his promo that night and talked about how it was his duty, it was his responsibility to make sure that he could save AEW from CM Punk. And we talked about it on the stream that night. It was very bizarre. It was a very bizarre tangent for him to go off on because there was nothing up until that point in their interactions together or in their feud as they built to their first match that would lead you to believe that CM Punk was going to do anything to harm AEW. You had Eddie Kingston go out there and talk about Punk being all these nasty things and calling him names and everything, and I know who you are and all that stuff from their feud, which was the previous year, I think the end of 2021. But it wasn't something that was any kind of consistent story thread. It was certainly heading into their match. It was nothing where it factored into the storyline until Hangman went out there and said what he said, before their championship match. And I look back on that now, and honestly, I don't think that there has ever been another promo, looking back on it in hindsight, I don't think there's ever been another promo in the history of the business that has cost one company so much money. And led to, and you look at, that was the first in a series of events that unfolded from that point on, and Punk bears responsibility for his actions that followed as well, and the way he reacted to it. There's no innocent party in this. But seriously, if it really all goes back to that one promo, and that one comment that Hangman made in that promo, I can't think of another single promo that cost one company so much money. It will go down in infamy. It will go down in history. But the biggest difference between the two, and I'll say it again, is that one of them didn't really make any sense to the viewer watching at home. That comment was appealing to an audience in the back. This promo was appealing to the audience in the building and the audience at home watching on television, because they're listening to Seth Rollins talk about, this man has talked crap for 10 years and now he's back and I have to protect this company from this person who tried everything in his power to tear down my home and burn my home to the ground. You can understand that. And if you're an AEW fan and you're aware of the workers' rights promo, all the better. That's the difference. The Hangman Page promo was appealing to his friends in the back. This promo is designed to make the company a lot of money because it's building to a major WrestleMania match. And that is the difference between those two promos. So you're going to hear some people comparing the two and talking about one copying the other, and WWE needs to get their own material. I didn't look at it that way at all. And this promo was a hell of a lot more effective, I'll promise you, than that one was. But again, just to put a bow on this promo was very effective at setting the stage for what we are going to get in 2024. We know that CM Punk is going into the Royal Rumble. He's now pledged. He's the second man now officially after Cody Rhodes to pledge and enter himself into the Royal Rumble match. And Punk entering the Rumble makes the Rumble that much more unpredictable because now you have at least two people who could viably, believably, credibly win the Royal Rumble match. Could I see WWE having Cody Rhodes go back-to-back? Yes, I can. And Cody would have to be one of the top two favorites in the Rumble. Of course, he's one of only two names announced, but they can announce the 28 other names tonight if they wanted to. He would still be number one or number two in the minds of most people, CM Punk being the other. And imagine if it comes down to the two of them, if they're the final two men in the Rumble match. And we don't know who else is going to be in the Rumble or who's going to have a match on the show. Drew McIntyre, we don't know. Brock Lesnar is supposed to be back around Royal Rumble season. Maybe Brock Lesnar is in there, right? You could believe that Brock Lesnar would win the Royal Rumble. Sure. Yeah, of course I could see Brock Lesnar winning the Royal Rumble. What about Randy Orton? I'm sure he'll enter into the Royal Rumble. So you're going to have Gunther in there. You're going to have all these people, but having Cody and Punk in there is smart because it could go either way. Crowd reaction, going to be very interesting to see. If it comes down to the two of them, right? Who gets the cheers, the lion's share of the cheers, and who gets booed. But again, that's what makes it fun. I like it when the Royal Rumble finish is not as predictable as it sometimes is. And this makes it a little less predictable. So I like that aspect of it. Now, there were people online when I was posting during the show, and I said, there's your night one WrestleMania main event right there. And there were people who said, well, why night one? It could easily be the night two main event. It's a big enough match, right? A lot of star power in that match. That could be your night two WrestleMania main event. No, it won't. It will not be your night two WrestleMania main event. If anything, it will be the night one main event. And here's the thing that people have to understand. Roman Reigns has been champion for 1,000 years at this point, okay? Or maybe 3, okay? But it feels like 1,000. Over 3 years, he's been the champion for. Roman Reigns is still the biggest star in this company. If Roman Reigns is going to WrestleMania, and especially if he is going to lose the championship, as I believe he will, to Cody Rhodes or whoever, there's no way that Roman Reigns is going to be the night one main event. He is the night two main event. So I'm not saying Punk and Rollins is not a big enough match to get that spot. But if Roman Reigns is defending his title, and especially if he's losing his title, it ain't gonna happen. So you're looking at your night one main event. And I'll tell you what, that's a hell of a double punch right there. Night one, Punk and Rollins. Night two, Roman and Cody. Hey, that's a huge 1-2 punch for next year's WrestleMania, if that's how it plays out. We shall see. I'm assuming that we are going to get Punk in limited doses on TV between now and the Rumble, so he'll be on most weeks, but not all. I would not have him on television every week. I think Punk should not be full-time. I think Punk should be saved as an attraction. I'm not saying he should get the Roman Reigns schedule, but I don't see the need to have Punk on TV every single week. And I don't see the need to put Punk in the ring before the Royal Rumble. If I'm WWE, I'm holding off his in-ring return for the Royal Rumble match. I don't see the point in putting him back in the ring. The only thing I could see them wanting to pop a big number on that first Raw of the new year, which is on New Year's Day. They might want to promote a CM Punk return to the ring, his first WWE match in 10 years, right? I could see them wanting to promote that. But what I'll mention later in the show, they already have a huge title match that they are promoting for that first Raw of 2024. That's your hook for the New Year's Raw. It doesn't have to be Punk's first match back in the ring. So I think you save Punk for the Rumble. People want to see him back in the ring, you got to tune into the Rumble. To see him in there with 29 other men. Because there is quite a bit of time left between now and the Rumble. And they're not going right into him and Seth. So you got to keep them apart. That's why I think, he'll be off TV some weeks. You're heading into the holidays anyway at the end of the month. Before you know it, you're going to turn around. It's January. And you could start really hyping up the fact that Punk returns to the ring at the Royal Rumble. And he's trying to win the Rumble, something he's never done before. I don't see the need to put him in the ring to do what? To have a tune-up match? To have a warm-up match against Ludwig Kaiser? Like, what the fuck are you going to do with him on television? Just save him for the Rumble. in the ring. We have Bronson Reed, Big Bronson Reed, taking on Ivar. This is the Battle of the Behemoths, Part 2. We already saw this match previously on this show. This was the rematch. Early on, both men hit simultaneous clotheslines. Both men rolled to opposite sides of the ring outside, and they glared at each other. And then they both charged, and they went for simultaneous crossbody blocks, which left them both down on the ground. That took us into the commercial. Ivar missed a split-legged splash in the corner. Reed went up top for the tsunami, but Ivar cut him off, and he clubbed Bronson until he fell to the floor outside. And then Ivar, who's a big fucking dude, goes up to the top rope and does a cannonball dive out to the floor onto Bronson Reed. That's pretty wild. That's a lot of beef flying through the air. And it took down Reed on the floor. Ivar rolled Reed back inside. He went up top. Reed, though, cut him off. And then Bronson Reed delivers a superplex to Ivar. And they both come crashing down. And he pins him. And Bronson Reed wins with a superplex. Now, when was the last time you saw someone win with a superplex in a wrestling match? Because I can't remember the last time I saw that. We see guys hit superplexes and then they roll into a Falcon. Like, they don't even sell it. But when you have two guys who combined are probably over 700 pounds, you can win with a superplex. They put the super in superplex. I thought that they should do the ring collapse spot, but I guess, doing that in the middle of the show wouldn't really make a lot of sense. It would kind of kill the rest of the show, I guess, if they collapse the ring. So that doesn't really work. I thought this was much better than their last match. I enjoyed this more. It was just fun. The cannonball spot was pretty wild. The superplex looked great. But there you go, man. Two big guys just beating the crap out of each other. Now, this was match number 2. I don't know. They might run it back for a third one. If they do, I'm okay with that. And I assume we get Bronson Reed in the Royal Rumble match and Ivar in the Royal Rumble match. And somebody will have the benefit, I guess, if they're trying to get somebody over in a major way, of dumping the big men out of the ring. Or maybe they'll eliminate each other. I don't know. They could probably have somebody who they want to really get over in a big way dump both of them. Look, there was a Rumble back in '96 where they had Shawn Michaels eliminate Vader and Yokozuna, which sounds ridiculous, but they were in full push Shawn Michaels mode. This was Vince McMahon doing everything he could to push Shawn Michaels at that time, the boyhood dream. So if they want to put somebody over, you can have somebody dump them both out at the same time. Now, CM Punk was backstage. We were not done with Punk yet. He was in the back, and he came across the Judgment Day, all of the members except for Rhea Ripley. He said, "Hey, guys, where's Rhea?" And Priest laughed and called him a funny guy. He welcomed Punk to their show. He said that he hopes Punk is the guy who finishes his story, and he held up his Money in the Bank briefcase and said that if Punk does, he'll be the one waiting. And that's the wild card here. It's easy to forget, but he certainly reminds us every other week. But Damian Priest still has the Money in the Bank briefcase. When is he going to cash in? Will it be a successful cash in? I mean, we're getting close to WrestleMania. It feels to me like we might have him, attempting to cash in at WrestleMania. I don't know whether it'll be a success or not. But the fact that they've made it this far and we're almost in Royal Rumble season or WrestleMania season, you may as well let him hold on to it until Mania. Or heading into Mania makes things a little more interesting that way. So we had Priest, Balor, Dominic, and JD McDonough. They were in the ring. Priest told everybody to rise. Balor boasted about the two of them being the only 2-time undisputed tag team champions in WWE history. Priest said that they had a simple message for everybody in the locker room. He said, regardless of whether or not they've dealt with them before, if you're new here, if you are a returning superstar, it doesn't matter. They're all on notice. So R-Truth came out, and he had his Christmas lights with him. And he said that he tried to decorate the Judgment Day's clubhouse, but they have locks on the front and back doors. He asked, how do you guys have a holiday party without any decorations? And McDonough said, look, there is no party. If there was, you wouldn't be invited. And Priest calmed him down. He got a smile on his face, and he said, "Hey, Truth, why don't you come into the ring? I want to hear what you have to say." So R-Truth goes into the ring and says he has a lot of ideas, and Balor encouraged him to share his thoughts. His first suggestion was kicking JD McDonough out of the Judgment Day because nobody likes him. And then Truth said that Priest has to stop calling himself the boss. He says that he thinks Priest is a fantastic boss, but it makes mommy mad. Priest told Truth, "Look, you're a funny guy, and I get why people like you." Balor said he likes him. "Everybody loves R-Truth," Priest said, "except me." And then he dropped him with a lariat, and they all put the boots to him. The Creed brothers ran out to try to help, but they got overwhelmed. Dominic and McDonough, they sent Julius Creed to the floor. They tried to run him into the barricade, but he turned the tables. He delivered a pair of overhead suplexes to both of them at the same time. Julius got back into the ring and helped out his brother. They sent Balor to the floor. Priest went for the double choke slam. Creed, though, fought him off and hit a double spine buster. And so next week, we are going to get the tag team title match. It's going to be the Judgment Day defending against the Creed brothers. This was fine. Yeah, nothing wrong with this. I just, a personal thing. Julius Creed is a beast, right? He's a freak of nature and big things in his future. He's a lot of fun to watch. I don't like seeing the overhead suplexes on the floor. It just reminds me of what happened last year with Ridge Holland and Big E. Big E got hurt on a similar thing. If you're going to do an overhead suplex, like an overhead belly to belly, and in this case, he had both guys, one on each arm, which is harder to do. And he pulled it off, and they turned and they landed fine and everything. But to me, it's just an unnecessary risk. And what happened last year, I think, is an example of something that didn't have to happen. It was a freak thing. It happened. It wasn't anything intentional. But you don't need to be doing, overhead belly to bellies on the floor. If you want to do that, do it in the ring. It just, I saw that. And again, I just was like, oh man, it's just a risk that I don't think is worth taking. Now, backstage, CM Punk walked up to Drew McIntyre, who was with Adam Pearce. And Drew said he didn't care about Punk's story. He doesn't care about Cody's story. He cares about his story. And it just got better. And he walked off. And Pearce told Punk that Drew is getting a World Heavyweight title match on the Day 1 edition of Raw. Because Raw is, in fact, on New Year's Day in 2024. So they're not waiting for the Royal Rumble. They're doing McIntyre and Rollins for the championship on Monday Night Raw. I think they're going to run it back again at the Rumble. The only thing is, you can't have McIntyre just lose again on Raw, because then why would you run it back for a third time? McIntyre is not winning the championship. Now, he already lost at Crown Jewel. So you're going to do the match on Raw. You can't pin him clean and then run it back at the Rumble and beat him again. Then he's dead. Then you've beaten him 3 times, and he's done. So my guess is we're going to get some kind of a DQ finish or a double DQ or a draw. Something will go down where we don't have a decisive winner, is my guess. And then we'll get the final match at the Rumble in Tampa between Rollins and McIntyre. And I think that's how it'll play out. But Punk is there, and here comes Kofi Kingston and Chad Gable and Ricochet. And Punk and Kofi, how about this? Punk and Kofi back together here. They were like best friends when Punk was in the company last time. I remember Punk used to have him on his bus, his tour bus. They used to play video games together. And then when Punk left, he just ghosted everybody. And that was the end of the friendship between Punk and Kofi. So Punk was ecstatic to see him, though, and he even threw in a Jamaican Me Crazy line before Kofi reminded him, I don't do that anymore. So the two of them hugged. Punk shook hands with Gable and Ricochet, and then Punk said he heard Ricochet is awful at video games. And then he said, look, I have to use the bathroom, but I'll catch up with you guys later. And off he went. Pearce told the other 3 that he had an idea that he wanted to run by them, and he invited him into his office for a chat. Somebody mentioned in the chat the idea of a fatal 4-way at the Rumble. I talked about that last week. I just don't see the need for it. I mean, I understand that Sami Zayn was put out by Drew McIntyre, and so he'll want revenge on Drew when he comes back. And, McIntyre and Jey Uso have had issues as well. They could do a fatal four-way for the World Heavyweight title at the Rumble. I just don't see the need for it. We've already seen Rollins against Jey Uso and Rollins against Sami Zayn on TV, and they both got beat fair and square. Could there be a fatal four-way? Yeah, I guess there could be. I would rather add the star power that Sami and Jey bring to the Rumble match. I mean, if we assume that if you have a match on the show, you won't be in the Rumble, I'd rather have them in the Rumble. But, we've had years in the past where people wrestle a match on the show and they're in the Rumble match as well. They've gone back and forth on that over the years. But a fatal four-way, I could see that. It's a possibility. Now, we had Kaden Carter and Katana Chance against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were on commentary for this. Natty and Tegan Knox were shown watching backstage. In the end, Carter and Chance, they hit their after-party finish on LeRae, and Katana Chance picked up the win for the team. The assisted 450 splash, they are calling it the after-party. I was very happy to see them use this because the last time we saw them on TV, they used a totally different finish. And I always thought this finish looked pretty cool, and I was a little worried that maybe they ditched it. So they have not. They won with the move here. Not much to this. This was a way to get Chance and Carter on TV to give them a win because next week they're challenging for the women's tag team title. We have 2 tag team title matches next week. We have the undisputed titles on the line, and the women's tag team titles are also being defended. Backstage, Johnny Gargano had a Cleveland Browns title belt draped over his shoulder while talking to Tommaso Ciampa. Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci showed up, and Kaiser said that he's heard about them having a mystery partner for their match tonight. Ciampa said, don't worry about the mystery partner. You should be worried about what Gunther is going to do after you disappoint him again. And Gunther showed up, said that Gargano and Ciampa were very confident. And he wished them luck and said he doubted they could find anybody willing to team with them. At that point, Michael Cole asked, who would team with DYI? And Wade Barrett made fun of him for it. Do yourself. Do yourself. Boy, when you remove the I from that name, boy, does it change the meaning. You go from do it yourself to do yourself. Whatever makes you happy. Becky Lynch was out to the ring next to call out Nia Jax. Everyone's favorite, Nia Jax. Becky said they've never gone one-on-one in the ring, but they have been linked together. And we got the footage from 5 years ago on Raw when Nia broke Becky's face. They replayed the entire incident. You saw Naomi was in the ring. I was looking at some of the old faces that were in the ring. There's Trinity in the corner over there. Becky said everyone that she has faced over the last 5 years has tried to use that as a burn against her, and now it's time to get to the root of the problem. She said she went on to main event WrestleMania after that, while Nia went off and had double ACL surgery because she is so unlikable that her own knees won't stand up for her. Hat tip to whoever came up with that line. It may have been her. It probably was Becky. I'm imagining that Becky probably writes her own material. But that was a good line. And then Becky said she got pregnant and Nia got fired. So their paths never crossed. They never had a singles match. You would think that would have been the first feud coming out of WrestleMania. But again, Nia got hurt. She went off and had surgery. She was gone, I think, for a year. So Nia headed to the ring. And she said, I'm not fired anymore. I'm right here in front of you, better than ever. Well, that's debatable. She added that the punch Becky showed was just a lucky swing, and she didn't even get all of it. And she played up what would happen if she hit Lynch with her full force. And that got what chance from the crowd. Nia said it's a full contact sport. Asked what Becky expected. What did you expect? Becky said that she would expect nothing less. She said Nia has broken bones and perhaps even ended some careers. She came pretty close a few times. I could think of a few incidents, yeah. Becky said that it's the narrative that she needs to change. And the narrative is that she owes her career to that punch from Nia Jax. She got punched in the face. That iconic shot of her in the crowd with her face all swollen and busted up, right? Blood pouring out of her nose, right? That's what really helped get her over and elevate her even higher to that next level. I mean, she was over before that, but that elevated her up to that next level. So she said she needs to change the narrative. She said it represents getting knocked down and then getting back up and fighting like hell. And she says she's done that her entire life, but Nia and her minions have spent years saying that she is not a main event star. Becky said that Nia now says that she's the reason that Becky is a main eventer. And Becky said that's a lie, and she needs to end Nia Jax. Jax said, I get it. You need me. She said Becky has to prove to herself that if her career wasn't an accident caused by her breaking her face. If not, Nia said that she'll always be the woman who made the man. Becky said she came to Cleveland looking for a fight. She dared Nia to hit her. Nia said, you need this a lot more than I do. She dropped the microphone and she left the ring. I have no interest in seeing the match, but I actually like the angle that they're taking with this, because there are people who would say that Becky Lynch should have sent Nia Jax a gift basket after she punched her in the face. Because it really did. It added to her character. And it did help her more than it hurt her. In fact, I think back to that time, and I don't think that Becky Lynch main events WrestleMania, when they did that first women's main event, I think the plan all along was to do Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. Now, Becky got over. The crowd was super behind her at that time. But if you remember, the plan for Survivor Series in 2018 was Becky Lynch against Ronda Rousey. Becky got hurt. She handpicked Charlotte to take her place. Charlotte and Ronda actually had, I thought, an excellent match at Survivor Series. And then ultimately we ended up with a triple threat when what we should have had at WrestleMania was Becky and Ronda one-on-one, and they, shoehorned Charlotte in there. But the whole plan from the beginning was going to be Charlotte and Ronda in the main event, first women's main event of WrestleMania. So you could argue that by Nia breaking her face, she basically punched her right into the main event of WrestleMania 35. There has been that narrative over the years. So I like the fact that if they're going to have this match, and there's a story here to be told with these two women, that would be the story. It's the logical story. Becky is trying to finally put that narrative to rest, and she has to, which again, it doesn't, because it doesn't change what happened, but I think that's the story you have to tell here if you're going to do this match. Now, Jackie Redmond was in the back interviewing Cody Rhodes, asked him about CM Punk signing with Raw. Cody said, good for Adam Pearce for making it happen, good for the fans, good for USA. Like Cody, always the corporate guy, man. He's got to sticking up for the network here. Good for USA. USA is probably losing this show, but they are getting SmackDown. Probably not going to keep Raw, though. He said, but the Rumble is right around the corner. He said, you can't finish two stories at once, and both he and Punk are very aware of that. And Jackie then turned the focus to Cody's match against Shinsuke Nakamura. Cody said that he would have a lot more excitement about this first time ever encounter with Nakamura had he not been sprayed with the mist. And Cody recalled Nakamura claiming that Cody asked for this. And Cody said, you're damn right I did. That was the end of the interview. We had Imperium against DYI and their mystery partner, who turned out to the surprise of, well, it should not be surprising at all. Oh, I knew Ray was going to be upset. I knew Ray was going to be upset at the Charlotte Flair comment. I'm going to do what CM Punk did because I like Ray. Ray, I apologize. And I am as sincere as CM Punk was with his apology. So it was DYI and their mystery partner who turned out to be The Miz. And this should not have been a surprise to anybody, because they were not going to come to Cleveland and not have Miz on the show in his hometown. Well, I guess he's from Parma, but isn't Parma like right? Is Parma like a suburb of Cleveland? I'm not an Ohio guy, but I think Parma is like a suburb of Cleveland or on the edge of Cleveland. He's a Cleveland guy. He's a hometown guy. That, and we know that he's headed for a rematch at some point with Gunther, so naturally he was the mystery partner. Michael Cole said Miz and Gargano are both fans of the Cleveland Browns. That's a pity. Cole said Gargano was at the Browns game and they won again somehow. Even Cole took a shot there at the Browns. There were Johnny Wrestling chants for Gargano, which is something you don't really hear every week. But they were in Cleveland again. Gargano's a hometown guy too. He started the match for his team and Gunther started for Imperium. Miz was all fired up. He wanted the tag. And Gargano was teasing that he was going to tag Miz into the match when Gunther took a cheap shot at Gargano instead. Parma is the biggest suburb of West Cleveland. There you go. All right. He's a hometown guy. Yeah. If this were Vince McMahon, like if WWE, I would imagine Parma probably doesn't have a big arena, but let's pretend that it did. If they ran Monday Night Raw from Parma, Ohio, at least back when Vince McMahon was in charge of this show, there ain't no way they would say, we're live from Parma, Ohio. They'd be like, Cleveland. That was his whole thing. If they were in a town that was perceived as being too small, well, we can't mention that. We gotta mention the bigger city. Isn't that where Al Snow is from? Oh no, Al Snow's from Lima, Ohio. Parma, Lima. These food names. So Gunther had Gargano isolated. Ciampa eventually tagged in. He joined Johnny in working over Giovanni Vinci. Kaiser held the ropes, which caused Ciampa to tumble out to the floor, where Gunther hit him with a big boot to the face. And that took us into the commercial break. Gunther booted Miz off the apron coming out of that break. Vinci tagged in, taunted Gargano, and then charged at Ciampa, who moved, which caused Vinci to crash and burn in his own corner. Gargano tagged in, as did Kaiser. And Gargano speared Kaiser, went for the pin. Vinci broke it up. Fans came to life when Miz tagged in. That is a sentence that you do not hear me say very often, and you will likely never hear me say again. The crowd came alive for the Miz here in his hometown. Gunther also tagged in. Miz got the better of him, hit him with a clothesline. Miz got Gunther down on one knee. He was throwing kicks at him in the corner. Gunther stuffed one of the kicks, and he dropped Miz with a headshot. Gunther tried to roll Miz into a submission. Ciampa ran in, broke it up. Miz and Gargano hit stereo DDTs on Kaiser and Vinci. Miz took Gunther down with a dragon screw and then put him in a figure four leg lock. Kaiser tried to run in, but Gargano put him in the Gargano escape. Gunther got to the corner. He tagged in Vinci, and Vinci hit a springboard, very similar to what Xavier Woods uses for his finish. I don't remember if he has a name for it, but the springboard elbow drop off the top rope, that broke the hold. Miz came back, put Vinci down with the skull-crushing finale to win the match for his team. This was really good. This was really good stuff. I like this a lot. Crowd was big into Miz and Gargano because they were the hometown boys. Backstage after this, Gunther was berating Kaiser and Vinci. And when he turned around, Miz was standing there and told him that he wants an Intercontinental Championship match. And Gunther was about to call him a pain in the ass, but he stopped himself. He said, you're a pain in the... And he stopped. And he said, I'll tell you what. You'll get your rematch. I will give you another shot at the Intercontinental Championship on one condition. When I beat you, you can never again challenge for the title so long as I am the champion. I held my breath. When he said that at first, I held my breath because Miz is going to be the Intercontinental Champion at least one more time in his career. And for a moment there, I thought he was about to say, you can never again challenge for this title. And I said, they can't put this fucking belt on Miz. They're not going to have Miz beat Gunther. And then he finished his thought and said, so long as I am the champion. And I was like, breathed a sigh of relief. I go, okay. That makes more sense. Now, they didn't say when the match would be taking place, but now we know the rematch is set. And then we got our main event, which was Cody Rhodes one-on-one with Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura hit Cody early with a running knee strike to the midsection, then knocked him down on the apron, and then Nakamura came in with a sliding kick that sent Cody to the floor, and that sent us into the commercial break. Cody tried for a Cody cutter. Nakamura stuffed it. He went for an armbar that Cody was able to avoid. Cody went for crossroads. Nakamura countered it, though, into the armbar again. And Cody got to the bottom rope with his foot to break the hold. Nakamura hit Cody with a flying knee from the middle rope, covered him for a 2 count, and then he went for the Kinshasa. And Cody kicked his knee when he came in for it. Cody then followed that with a dragon screw leg whip, and then another one, but this time it was in the ropes. Cody then put Nakamura in a half crab, and Nakamura got to the ropes to break it. He rolled out to ringside. Cody hit him with a suicide dive, and that left both men down on the floor and took us into our final commercial break of the show. Late in the match, Cody connected on a disaster kick, and then he was throwing jabs at Nakamura. He hit him with the bionic elbow. Followed that with a Cody cutter. He tried for crossroads, and then Nakamura, he spun out of it, and then he spit the red mist into Cody's face right in front of the referee, and that was enough for a disqualification. Groan here in this main event. After 20 minutes, we got a cheap disqualification finish. Nakamura then attacked Cody after the bell. Cody is blind, but he caught Nakamura with one wild punch. Nakamura, though, put him down. He went outside. He grabbed the chair. He brought the chair into the ring. Referees are trying to talk him out of doing something that he's going to regret. Here come the Creed brothers down to the ring. That caused Nakamura to exit without using the chair. And the Creeds helped Cody. And again, I like that. Associating the Creeds with Cody, I think, is smart. They're trying to get these two kids over. This is one way to do it. Have them come out and make the save for a top name like Cody, even though we have not seen them interact before. So they're helping Cody. They give him a towel, the referee does, to try to clean his eyes. Another referee handed him a bottle of water. He used that to try to wash out the mist. Cody laid on the mat. He had a towel over his eyes for a moment, rolled out onto his feet, and he's starting to make his way to the back. Nakamura's already left. But now here comes Shinsuke Nakamura back out. He charges down the aisle, and he blasts Cody with a Kinshasa to the face. And he lays him out again. Now the Creeds come over. They roll out of the ring to try once again to come to Cody's rescue. And that is how they went off the air. I am not a fan of ending an 18-minute main event with a cheap disqualification finish like that. I don't like finishes like that, but here's the thing. They were not going to have Cody eat the pin going into the Royal Rumble. They protected Cody since he got that big win over Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. They've largely protected Cody. And so they weren't going to have him get pinned. But if you just have Cody go in there and beat Nakamura clean, well, how are you going to bring it back for a rematch? You still have 6 weeks. The whole point of this is, well, there's 2 points. Number one, they need something for Cody to do in the meantime. Nakamura is something for him to do. It gives him a way to occupy his time until we get to the Royal Rumble. The other thing that it does is it adds to this story that they're telling. And there's been a lot made of everybody having a story. You know, I'm going to come up with a story for myself. I think Solomonster needs a story. But one of the stories that they're telling with Cody about his story is that he has to overcome all of these obstacles that are constantly being thrown in his way. Going back to what happened at WrestleMania and going back to the feud with Brock Lesnar and then heading into War Games, right? All these obstacles that get thrown in front of this man. And so I get that they wanted to do this screwy finish because it buys them some more time before the inevitable rematch between these. And we will get a rematch, obviously, between these two. But that's why the finish had to be the way it was. I didn't like it, but there was really no other logical way to do it if that's their end goal here. So you have Nakamura, who feels desperate. He's on the verge of losing this match. And so out of desperation, he sprays the Mystic Cody and blinds him again, gets himself disqualified because he's a dick. And that's his character now. That's what he does. And so now there's a reason to run this back for a second time. And I said at this rate, they're going to have to do a blindfold match between these two. All these times that Cody is being misted in the face here, they're going to have to do a blindfold match for the final match between these two guys. But Michael Cole said it on commentary, if you want to know the story they're looking to tell here. The story is, this is another obstacle, he said, thrown in Cody's way as he tries to finish his story. And this is the way it's going to be as we head into WrestleMania 40. And it's why I think Cody Rhodes does not win the Royal Rumble. I think that Cody Rhodes should be a sympathetic figure. He needs to be a sympathetic figure on his road to Philadelphia. You need to do with him, I think, what they did basically with Shawn Michaels in 2010, where Shawn Michaels was trying to get a match with The Undertaker, right? He had that great classic WrestleMania match in 2009. He lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. And then when their match won a Slammy Award at the end of the year, he turned it into a pitch for a rematch with The Undertaker. And The Undertaker basically told him, fuck off. You're not getting your match. And Shawn said, well, I guess I'm going to have to win the Royal Rumble. And then he didn't. So he had to find a different path to get The Undertaker back in the ring, which ultimately he was able to do. But I think it's that kind of story that they should tell, and they need to tell with Cody Rhodes. I really don't have the appetite to see him go back-to-back in the Rumble. He'll get his match with Roman Reigns. That should be the match at WrestleMania. But he doesn't have to win the Royal Rumble. You can have Punk or Gunther or somebody else. I mean, if Punk is wrestling Rollins, then Gunther is shit out of luck. But I'd rather see somebody other than Cody win the Rumble. Have Cody win the Chamber. But that's the next chapter of this story. That's the next obstacle in his way when he doesn't win the Rumble. What is Cody Rhodes going to do? How is Cody Rhodes going to finish his story? He didn't win the Rumble. Well, now he's got to win the Chamber. And there was even, I got an email on the podcast this weekend from Maya. Shout out to Maya, who had an interesting idea for what the Elimination Chamber match could be. For the first time, a cross-promotional Elimination Chamber match for the right to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, assuming Punk, let's say, wins the Rumble and picks Seth Rollins, right? Then they have to pick a challenger for Roman Reigns. If it's cross-promotional, that's how you get Cody in there. But the idea that she came up with is it's cross-promotional, involving all of the people who have been wronged in some way by the bloodline. So you would have Cody, and you would have Jey Uso, and you would have Drew McIntyre, and you would have Sami Zayn, and you would have LA Knight, and you would have Logan Paul, who lost to Roman at Crown Jewel last year. And use that as a way to start something with Logan Paul and LA Knight, right? Who then go off to wrestle for the U.S. title at WrestleMania. And you could have Drew eliminate Jey, or Jimmy gets involved and fucks over Jey, and then they go off to have their issue. Cody ultimately beats Drew, and now he's got his title match. Now he's got his second chance against Roman Reigns. I like that idea. I actually think that's a very clever idea. But Cody is going to be the underdog in this story. And so they're going to be talking about all these obstacles that are being thrown in front of him. I think you don't want to just hand everything, or make it feel like he's being handed something, and run the risk of people maybe starting to turn a little bit against him. Which is why I don't think he's going to win the Rumble. But it does make it a lot more interesting, right? Having him and Punk both in the match. I will say that, because it could go either way. But the opening and closing matches on the show I thought were good. They did a good job, better than they sometimes do, of filling up the middle. I enjoyed the Imperium 6-man tag. Bronson, Reed, and Ivar had a kick-ass match. And the Punk and Rollins segment was the highlight of the entire show. So a strong episode, a strong outing here on Raw, which is good to see because it's December. And sometimes these shows just die a death when we get to this time of year, especially with no pay-per-view until the end of January. About 85% of you have given Raw a thumbs up so far in the Twitter poll. 15% thumbs down. So at Solomonster, that's where you can find me. Go ahead and vote. Let me know what you guys thought of Raw tonight. That is a very, very good score. Very good score for Monday Night Raw. You love to see it. I'll take those victories when they come, because Raw is not always like that. Let's go to your Super Chats and see what you guys thought of the show. Thank you, by the way, to all of the people who have liked the video. The goal tonight for Be the Booker was 400, and we are currently at 441, so thank you very much. The Winston Slip. Your most underrated Royal Rumble match and why? Underrated. Interesting. Underrated Royal Rumble match? Well, you know, when I think of the best ones, I think of 92, I think of 07, I think of 2001. Those are easier to pick out. Underrated. What do you guys think? Is an underrated Royal Rumble? I think I might have to go. I don't know. Is 2002 highly rated? I don't know. I might have to go with 2002. Good question. Jackie Fowler with the $12 super chat. When do you think is the right time to do Cena against Cody? For me, it's WrestleMania 41. The story can be 20 years ago, Cena won his first world title. Cody is the champion. He could give him the chance to try to win number 7. I don't like that as the WrestleMania title match. I don't know that I'm a fan of that. I know Cody would love to get in the ring with John Cena. He definitely would want to have that match. Having it as the title match of WrestleMania is just something that I don't think needs to happen. I do think that there is a story there to be told about him going for number 17. And if Randy Orton can rack up a few more world titles in the next couple of years, you could even do something with Cena and Orton. Who's going to get to number 17 first? Because Orton still has a ways to go. I think Orton's at what, 13, 14, I think? Cena and Cody for the title of WrestleMania 41 doesn't do it for me. Yeah, I don't think I can get behind. Lakers Pats, registered Lex offenders. Stand up for Lexus King. Yeah, I see Lexus King is not very happy that his fans have taken to calling themselves registered Lex offenders. I can see why. Lady Fire Panda, thank you for the $20 super chat. Registered Lex offenders. Good Lord, where is Bryan Danielson when you need him? Yes, that's right. Let's dole out some fines to these people. We had a lot of people who were fined, apparently, by Bryan Danielson tonight based on the super chat. Bobby's World was listening to music and a song called Walking Alone came on by ABK. Don't know if it's our ABK, but regardless, you might like the song. Hey, ABK is multi-talented. I hope he's doing well. I don't know if he's with us tonight, but he does it all. So maybe it is his song. I'm gonna have to check that out. Our very own ABK. Making music. Randy is at 14. All right, so 2 more world titles. It's possible. It's possible we can get him and Cena neck and neck in the next couple of years. Brian H. the Green Boy. I'm a Bronson Reed guy. That dude is a beast. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And Triple H is someone who actually seems to know what he's doing with Bronson Reed. Prince Vegeta. If he stays healthy and out of trouble, do you see a heel Punk taking the title off of Cody when Cody eventually wins it? I don't, because I think that Cody is going to be on SmackDown and Punk is going to be on Raw, and then at some point we'll have to figure out when the right time is for Punk and Roman, because you know we're going to get Punk and Roman. I think that SummerSlam honestly would be the best time for it, and it doesn't have to be for a championship. I mean, it would almost, some people would want Roman to still be the champion come SummerSlam. I mean, please. I mean, give me a break. We don't need Roman Reigns to continue for another year. But you can do Punk and Roman at SummerSlam, maybe not for the title. By the time we get to, let's say, WrestleMania 41, the roles could be reversed. Roman could be babyface by that point. Punk could be heel with Heyman. By that point, maybe Punk is champion. There's a few different ways you could go with it. I don't know that I would have Punk taking it from Cody. I don't know. I see a double main event at SummerSlam next year of Punk and Roman and Cody and Orton. I just don't know how that's going to work as far as if those right now. That would be all SmackDown guys if they all end up on SmackDown. If we have a draft in May, the draft could blow everything up. I mean, who knows who's going to be on what brand by that point. I like the idea of doing, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is going to depend on who's on what brand, I guess. As far as who has what title. We'll see. Bryan says CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. I'm guessing that Bryan is a fan of CM Punk. Aussie of Steel, why do they keep giving Nia Jax a microphone? I don't know, you have to ask them. I'm not the one putting the microphone in her hand. I'm the one doing the Prince Nana dance. Poorly. A silver tower. Thank you for the super chat. Look at Swerve. He's amazed. He's amazed by my dancing skills. Either that or he's repulsed. I'm not sure which. Fire Panda, thank you for the $4. Anis, I hear CM Punk may be coming back to WWE. I don't know, man. That's just a rumor right now. We'll have to wait and see. Poor Anis. Anis is stuck in a time warp. Brock's ripped shorts. Rollins versus Punk could absolutely main event night 2. I agree. Absolutely. Any other year. Not this year. Not going to happen. Prince Vegeta, if Vader won the title in 96, do you see Sid getting the belt as well? Also, why isn't he in the Hall of Fame yet? Now, if Vader wins the title in 96, Sid doesn't win the belt. Sid was the replacement for Vader. If Vader wins the belt, Shawn gets the belt back in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome, like he did. So, that's how that goes down. Drew Johnson, watched a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun. Name that character. You're the GOAT. Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It's not John McClane from Die Hard, is it? I think I'm confusing that with a different line. I don't know. Is it John McClane? It's almost that time of year, by the way. The greatest Christmas movie of all time. I have to rewatch Die Hard. Grant Hudson with the $9.99. Someone mentioned it on Twitter, but the idea of Punk picking NXT reminded me of when Undertaker won the Royal Rumble and had a stare down with all 3 champions, and they teased that he would face Lashley at WrestleMania 23. Yes, for the ECW title. The real CS says, why did WWE do that angle with Punk back in 08? Was he legitimately hurt? No, I don't believe he was. That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, maybe they were trying to protect him. I mean, that doesn't really make sense either, though. If it was a scramble match, right? Didn't Chris Jericho end up winning the belt that night? I don't know. Seemed like a dumb decision to me. Devin from New Jersey. Why is everything such a big secret with Tony Khan? Doesn't he know secrets are no fun unless you share with everyone? What secret are we talking about? Is there some new secret I'm not aware of? Look at this. Bryan Danielson just find another one. Bryan Danielson's rolling in the dough, man. All the people he's been finding since I added that super chat last week. This guy can retire. He never has to work another day in his life. Yeah, Joey, I saw that. Now we have the IWGP Global Championship. Why the fuck do we need a global title? Just bring back the Intercontinental title. Why is that so hard? Just bring back the Intercontinental title. You don't need a global title. You already had an Intercontinental title. Just bring it back. Stupid. Huffman. If I were Vince McMahon, he wouldn't say they were live from Parma. He would say, we are live in the shadow of Cleveland, Ohio. That's right. That's right. That's what they did in when they were in Chicago, right? When they were in Rosemont. We're in the shadow of Chicago, Illinois. Silver Tower, thank you for the $5. The D. Harris brand with a super chat. Thank you very much. The real CS is just showing some love. I appreciate that. Now the world, 138. How about my Dodgers? Mets will always suck. I'll tell you something right now. The Dodgers just fucked it up for every team in Major League Baseball. And apparently that was Ohtani's idea to do the deferment the way that they're doing it, but I've never heard of that in my entire life. Guy getting paid $700 million is deferring, I think, $680 million of it, so that the team can, I guess, go out and spend money on other players. So they're deferring most of them. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it changes baseball for the worse. So yeah, yay Dodgers, right? Good job there. The Yatagarasu, I feel like heel stables have lost their way. Punk stumbles upon the Judgment Day on a bad day as a babyface and doesn't get jumped. That's true. They do too much talking now. See, back in the day, the NWO, they would have laid a beat down on it. It's not the same, man. It's not the same. Prince Vegeta. One of my favorite Rumbles is 04. Underrated and not talked about for obvious reasons. Yeah, for obvious reasons. I wasn't really a huge fan of that. The D. Harris brand with the $9.99 says, first time catching your review live. Just got in from Raw in Cleveland tonight. Not sure how it came off on TV, but the crowd was on fire. Everything but the women's tag, most of the 6-man, and the Cody ending. Yeah, the crowd was pretty hot for the key stuff on the show. Thought it was a good crowd tonight. I mean, you can't really blame him for the women's tag. It was a 2-minute match, and you know, with two teams that hardly get any TV time. But it was a good crowd tonight. Silver Tower, thank you for the $12 super chat. I appreciate that. Zay, 97, $5. Oh my God, where has Xia Li been? I thought she was an incredible, not boring killer. And Punk looks like a deadbeat dad returning home. Love your show. Well, once they did Xia and Becky, and they did Xia and Lyra in NXT, I guess that was the end of Xia. Justin G with the $5 super chat. Bryan Danielson better be getting at least a 5% cut of those fines. Secure the bag. Clone Force. Have Jimmy eliminate Jey in the Rumble, and on Raw, Jimmy cost Jey a spot in the chamber, and Jey gets upset, asks Adam to be traded, or to trade Cody for Jimmy. You could do that, but I mean, I guess the issue there, though, is if they want to keep whatever remnants are left of the bloodline going, now you're down to Roman and Solo. So is that really what they want to do by moving Jimmy to the other show? You could do that, because that could be Jay's favor back to Cody, for Cody, you know, cashing in his chips and bringing Jey back to the company over to Raw. That would be one way to do it. Or again, you could do some sort of cross-branded chamber and have Cody win the chamber. Otherwise, like, what's the chamber then? You know, that would be my question. What else would be up for grabs in the chamber next year? That's a big show, too. I mean, they're doing chamber in Australia. They have 45,000 tickets out so far for that show. Not 7,000, as Dave Meltzer said. that's going to be a big show. I think there's going to be something big on the line in the chamber. I think that's probably how Cody gets in if he doesn't win the Rumble. But that's not a bad idea either. Super Pony. Heel Kevin Owens should dethrone Cody. Do you agree? Heel Kevin Owens should dethrone Cody Rhodes. I don't know. Maybe. I have to think on that a little bit. I'm not against heel Kevin Owens. I'm really not. But should he be the one to beat Cody? It's tough. Depends who else is on the show. I mean, we got Gunther. And is Gunther going to be gunning for the World Heavyweight title at that point? Is he going to be gunning for Cody's title? I mean, the draft, I guess, will decide a lot of that. I'm not sure about that. Clone Force. Punk wins the Rumble. Cody wins the Elimination Chamber. I think that's the likeliest scenario. DEH Sires, I'm fully convinced that Sasha will be at the Rumble. What about you? I think there's a very good chance. I feel like Mercedes ends up back in WWE. And if she is going to go back to WWE, there's no better time than Rumble season to go back. It just fits in so well with this story. With Bayley is going to be kicked out of Damage Control. She's going to be all by herself. She's going to need a friend. And you can't rely on Charlotte because it looks like Charlotte could be seriously hurt, which would suck for her if she has to miss WrestleMania next year. I think there's a very good chance that by Royal Rumble, we will see Sasha Banks back in WWE. And the Real CS has a $4.99 coming on in. Doesn't Gunther have visa issues and will not be at Elimination Chamber? Yeah, Gunther will not be there. Gunther has there's some residency restrictions he's under for 6 months, and I think it started in September or October. I think in October. So WrestleMania, he should be good to go, but I don't believe he will be allowed to travel to Australia. He can't travel out of the country right now. By Mania, he should be good to go. The Real CS, last Super Chat of the night, but Punk against Rollins has the potential to be a great feud that will make a lot of money for everyone involved. Well, with more promos like the one we got tonight, I would agree with you. That's why I said it was a money promo. It's the biggest difference, I think, between this promo and the other one that people will make comparisons to. I just don't see how that promo was a money-making promo. Because it just veered into territory that it really had no business veering into, heading into Double or Nothing. Didn't do anything to enhance the match. This, though, this is a money promo, the one we saw tonight. So I agree with you. Make a lot of money for them. And Will Chisholm, with a $10 super chat, it will be crazy if at night 1 and 2 of WrestleMania, if it ends with Cody and Punk holding titles up, one guy left AEW for a reason he will never say, and another one who got fired. I think Cody is going to be holding up a title. I don't think Punk is going to be holding up a title. It's my early prediction. And Jay Glow, thank you for the $4.99. They could do the 94 Rumble finish with Brett Lex with Punk and Cody. Cody picks Roman. Punk picks... that's... No. Jay, I hate that idea. I didn't like it when they did it in 94, and I don't want to see them do it in 2024. Holy shit, is it really 30 years? Wow. It's going to be the 30th anniversary of that finish. Well, I didn't like it back then, and I don't want to see them do it now. I get what you're saying, but man, I do not want to see that. That would be terrible. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I'll tell you what's not terrible. Be the booker. Well, I shouldn't speak yet, because I haven't booked the matches yet. Let's find out how terrible this card is. Be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Thank you for the likes. Keep hitting that thumbs up. It does help the video out a lot. gets it into the recommended, so we have other people who find the channel that way. All right, here we go. First, Be the Booker of the Week here for Monday. We're going to kick things off here with Tag Team Be the Booker. I do like myself a good classic tag team match. We got a lot of classic tag teams here in this spinning wheel. Well, it's not a wheel, but it spins. Here we go. A fine team. How about that to kick things off with Owen Hart and the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. You know, an example of two single stars they put together as a team, but I really liked Owen and Davey as a team. I like their team a lot. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog going to be stepping into the ring with Homicide and Hernandez of LAX. You see Hernandez tossing Owen with the border toss. LAX was a good team back in the day. We had different versions of it. Homicide and Hernandez were the OGs. So we go from LAX against Owen and Bulldog. It was an interesting match that I like. Let's go over to Women's Be the Booker. Let's start off with Rowdy Ronda Rousey. This will have a very, I think, divided opinion in the live chat, though. Ronda Rousey, former champion. I don't know. It's going to depend, I think, on who we land on here. Ronda Rousey and Bull Nakano. How are we feeling about that as a match? Ronda Rousey and Bull Nakano. You know what? I like it. I like it. Bull Nakano, man. Bull Nakano was a beast. Ronda and Bull. I'm giving that the bell. 2 for 2. We need one more. We need one more. We went 3 for 3, I believe, on Wednesday and Friday. I believe, didn't we? I think we went 3 for 3 on Wednesday and Friday last week. This could be 3 in a row. I got a good feeling about this. I got a good feeling about this. Here we go. Oh my goodness. It is Devil's Choice. Keep or replace the man that you just picked. But since it was my first pick, it doesn't count. See, we should have landed on Devil's Choice after I picked my first pick. We just wasted our Devil's Choice card. It's the first time we've landed on that. Let's try to land on it again. Devil's Choice, one of the many surprises that have been added to Be the Booker. Unfortunately, we can't use it, so we'll see if we land on it again. We begin with, look at this. The Rainmaker. Dave Meltzer. Look at the swag. And he's in his favorite place, too. He's in Japan. There he is. Dave Meltzer, all that Observer money he's holding up right there. Dave Meltzer. See, now I really need the Devil's Choice because I would have picked somebody different. I needed the Devil's Choice now, not before. The fuck am I going to do with that now? I had to get rid of it. Ugh. I landed on it too soon. All right, here we go. I thought we were going to go 3 for 3. Doesn't look like we're going 3 for 3. Dave Meltzer is going to go one-on-one with his old friend, Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks. I don't think Dave would want to fight Nick. I think he would lay down for him. I don't think he would want to hurt Nick. Even though his arms are bigger than Nick. He's got bigger arms than Nick does. I think Dave would have a crisis of conscience here. What do? I can't fight the Young Bucks. One of his sources. How could he fight one of his sources? Well, as soon as we landed on Meltzer, I knew this was headed in a bad direction. We were so close. We were so close to a perfect score. And Meltzer had to fuck it all up. Oh, man. Well, we still did well. We just were not perfect. I'm telling you, that Devil's Choice, if that just came up one turn later. Well, poor Dave is going to have to figure out what he wants to do there. I don't think he wants to hurt one of the Bucks. Skywalker, thank you for the $9.99. In the not too distant future, would you be interested in AI commentary like JR and Lawler, Bobby and Gorilla? If so, which commentary team would you like to listen to cover past or present matches? I don't know. This AI stuff just really disturbs me. Now you're talking about having them do full-blown match, like current matches. I don't know. Something about it I find very disturbing. But if they were going to do it, I want Bobby and Gorilla, man. Bring back Gorilla and the Brain. That's what I want. Gorilla and the Brain, #1 combo. Bobby and Gorilla. JR and Lawler. Gorilla and Ventura. Honestly, Jesse Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon were also a very good team. As were Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura. I'll tell you what, man, they don't make them like they used to. Those were some great commentary teams. Well, thank you guys. I think I have exhausted all of your messages. I believe I have read them all. So I thank you for that very much. Keep liking the video if you have not already done so, and we'll try to get that up a little bit higher. Wednesday, I'm going to be back with you live. That is the next time I'm live with you after AEW Dynamite. It is the Winter is Coming episode, which has a big match in the Continental Classic. It is going to be Swerve Strickland and Jon Moxley, who are tied at 9 points apiece in the Gold League standings. They will be wrestling on Wednesday, so that is going to be a big match. I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling we are going to get our first 20-minute draw. That's just the way I feel. I think we're going to get a draw in that match, but we'll see. And then, of course, live on Friday for SmackDown. If you missed it, episode 838 is currently up. A lot of things covered on there. My NXT Deadline review is on there as well. If you're an NXT fan, want to know my thoughts on the show, you got to check out episode 838. That is not going to hit YouTube. So check it out on there. I'm going to head out. Be well. Stay safe. Come on back Wednesday night. And we will do it all over again for AEW Dynamite. Until then, thanks for the love. Take care, guys.